This is Your Life as American Literature for the Ranger College course, American Literature, English 2327. Who am I? What am I covering in this video? Well, my name is Tatum Allison. I was born to Mandy Gilbert Allison and David Allison. I am covering my ancestors/family tree, the events leading up to my birth, how we came to live in our current house, and my personal beliefs on if my town/community is what the forefathers envisioned as America or not. I was born in Stephenville's Harris Methodist Hospital. Dr. Janie McMillan was the operating OBGYN, and 4 of my 6 younger siblings were born at Harris Methodist Hospital as well, and had Dr. McMillan as the official OBGYN if she wasn't there for their birth. She was still the official OBGYN. My grandmother, my mother's mother, used Dr. McMillan for my mother and my aunt's births. So just some fun family background there. My mother's whole side grew up in Eastland, Texas, have lived there for many, many generations. And my father grew up in Arlington, Texas, after moving there when he was 16 months old. There'll be more on this a little bit further down. So you can see that my parents grew up in 2 completely different locations from each other, one in the city and one in the country. We took ancestry tests a little ways back, and the results for me, as far as my nationality, came back as 47% English and Northwestern European, 25% Irish, 12% Scottish, 2% Swedish and from Denmark, 2% from Norway, 1% Jewish, 1% from Eastern Europe and Russia, and 1% from Germanic Europe. And I'm sure that there are more in there that we just couldn't see. Both sides of my family, my mother's and my father's, go as far back as the 1800s as what we can see on Ancestry. And my father's side, we can see up to as far back as the 1700s. And both sides have been shown to have lived in the Eastland Carbon area for as far back as we can see. Carbon is a tiny town 10 miles south of Eastland, and it had a population of 285 in the 2022 census. So that gives you kind of an idea of how small it was. My dad lived in Carbon until he was about 16 months old, and after that his parents moved into Arlington, but his parents never moved after that move. My grandmother still lives in the same house 42 years later. My mother was born in Weatherford, where I live right now, and lived in Mineral Wells until she was about 5. They moved into the house her parents are living in to this day, 38 years later. Both of my great-grandfathers, my father's mother's fathers, grandmothers, were full-blooded Native American. He called them Nanu Neighbors and Nanu Daniels. Daniels was his last name and continued the line down until his daughter, who married an Allison. Somewhere in our family, it has been told that we are also related to Kawana Parker, the indigenous person for whom Parker County was named, and my mother's sister has ties back to Pocahontas, which I know isn't that big of a deal, I guess, nowadays because it is so much later, so probably a whole lot more people have ties to her than we realize. My mother went to Baylor University with some summer classes at Ranger College that she transferred over, and while she was at college, she received a bachelor's of family and consumer sciences, and a master's of sports management, specializing in facilities and events. And she was the first person in her family to ever attend college. Her older sister had attended, I think, one class before her, but then dropped out before it was finished. So that's kind of special for our family, is that my mom was the first person in her family to attend. It's a very strong legacy for the kids. My father went to Navarro Community College for a year with a baseball scholarship after high school. He then transferred to Missouri Baptist University to finish his bachelor's in communications with a minor in business, and he received another baseball scholarship while attending. It wasn't full ride, but it covered the vast majority of his tuition and fees. Our family got started with the following events. My parents met on a field trip that my mom's high school teacher put together. And the high school teacher was also my dad's aunt, which is kind of cool. My parents got engaged 13 months later when my dad proposed around Valentine's Day, and they got married October 23rd, 2004. I was born almost 5 years later, May 29th, 2009, and my brother Parker, the brother right below me, was born October 10th, 2012. Our kids and the house we're living in now was we moved into when Parker was 18 months old, and all of my other siblings were born when we have lived in this house. I have 6 younger siblings. Parker is 11, Yeldon is 10, Shepard is 8, Theron is 6, Alvy was 3, and Chesney is 1.5. I have 5 younger brothers, and Chesney is the baby sister that I have. And another fun fact, Alvy, the 3-year-old, was named for my dad's father, who passed away when I was 2. My family typically errs on the more conservative side of politics. I have noticed that the values that the founding fathers had back then when they were founding America are not necessarily the values that the American people hold nowadays. And even though I'm a homeschooled student and I don't have a whole lot of friends outside the homeschool Christian community, I'm still seeing the effects of these. Taxes, free stuff, and the American dream. The American dream is that anybody can make anything of themselves if they work hard enough. They are not just assigned to a particular caste or class that they were born into. Now, though, there are a lot of people getting free benefits that are not working or are not legal citizens, or that just don't need the free benefits. They have a steady income. And that makes higher taxes for the non-working citizens, but the non-working citizens and illegal immigrants do get the benefits that other people who are working hard have to pay for. Some other things that are different in the nowadays society of America is abortion, the separation of church and state, and not just the government not being involved in the church, but rather the church not being involved in the government and the government stepping away from the Christian morals that founded this country. There's the big push towards racism or not, but you still see the people running for certain offices almost segregating America, separating blacks from the whites, or African Americans from the Asian Americans, and so on and so forth. And for me, that feels like they're still segregating America in some way, not as strongly as it was, but it's still segregating it. And so I think that's a little bit different than what the older founding fathers' beliefs were. And I could be totally wrong on that, but that's what I personally think at this point in my life. And then we have the big woke movement, where I know some people sympathize towards it, but I tend to err on the side of that's not really what the Christian life should be. And I think that our country is supporting them a little too much. And I'm not sure that the founding fathers would have agreed with their decisions back then. And there's many more topics that I'm not discussing right now, but that I think are heavily involved. In recap, the preceding are the areas that make up who I am, who my ancestors were, my parents' college degrees, how we got to be in this house that we're living in, and my personal beliefs toward what the founding fathers would think of our country nowadays. Thank you for listening. I hope I've kept you entertained and have informed you on the aforementioned reasons of this video. Thank you.